powerful physique isn't always necessary in order to make a difference in the world of football. La Liga has provided example after example of shorter players who have achieved plenty of success. One of the most illustrious in this type of player in recent history was Ludovic Julie. Standing at just 1.64 m, the Frenchman was one of the pillars of Football Club Barcelona under Frank Rijkaard, and in his 3 seasons at the club, he would lift 2 La Liga titles, the Champions League, and 2 Spanish Super Cups. This is Julie's career at the Camp Nou. Ludovic Julie joined Barca in the summer of 2004 after shining at Monaco, the club with which he had played in the Champions League final. His performances were impressive from the start, and on the opening match day of the season, he found the net for the first time.
Cross comes in from Belletti. It's Julie at the far post, and Julie puts it in! It's his first ever goal for Football Club Barcelona.
Julie would score again just 1 week later, showing his great adaptation to life at the Camp Nou. With his runs inside from the right flank, Julie was a fundamental part of the Barca attack, setting up teammates Samuel Eto'o and Ronaldinho in the front trident. Ludovic Julie was the most effective solution for Frank Rijkaard. He found the net 11 times in his first season in La Liga, including important strikes such as the winning goal against Deportivo La Coruña.
Free kick from Marquez. Marquez takes it first time. Rebound comes back. It's Silvinho. And Julie puts in the rebound from Silvinho.
The Frenchman helped Barca to their first La Liga title in 5 years and became beloved by the Catalan fans. The arrival of Ludovic Julie at Barca coincided with a golden age for the club. His second season was even better than the first in terms of titles, as the Catalan club defended the La Liga title and also won the Champions League. On an individual level, things were more difficult. The breakout of a young talent by the name of Leo Messi meant his appearances were more limited, although he remained an important part of the title-winning side. In the Frenchman's third season, Messi became the first-choice forward, and Julie became a bit-part player in Rijkaard's side. At the end of the campaign, he packed his bags and moved to Paris Saint-Germain. Ludovic Julie spent 3 short but successful seasons at Football Club Barcelona and made an impact with one of the best sides ever to feature in La Liga.
Rayo Vallecano spent the last few years attempting to return to the promised land of La Liga. The Madrid-based side have one of the most passionate fan bases in Spain and are pushing to give their supporters Primera Division football once more. Not so long ago, Vallecas bore witness to one of the phenomenons of La Liga. The Rayo Vallecano side, coached by Paco Gémez. Despite having one of the smallest budgets in the division, their swashbuckling attacking football turned them into a hugely popular team with surprising success. Gémez took over at the club in the summer of 2012 after gaining experience at several second division sides, such as Córdoba and Unión Deportiva Las Palmas. Gémez replaced José Ramón Sandoval, who had been in charge when Rayo was saved by a last-gasp goal by Raúl Tamudo in the final minute of the final match day. Other names arriving at the same time included Chori Domínguez, Alejandro Galvez, and a young Leo Baptistao. The southern Spanish coach did not wait around to make an impact, and on the opening match days of the season, his side caused several surprises. Never in the relegation spots, they played some great games. They beat Valencia at Mestalla, and bested Atletico Madrid 2-1 at home.
And he was closer to that, and he's put it past the goalkeeper, and it's 2-0. It's the Brazilian who gets two chances in the space of just a few seconds. He maybe should have done better with the first one, but he made no mistake with the second one.
Rayo's results were a revelation. But above all, it was the attractive football instilled by Gémez that turned the team into a must-watch side. One of the main protagonists in this was Francisco Medina, also known as Piti. The Catalan midfielder scored an incredible 18 goals in La Liga, helping Rayo keep up their extraordinary dynamic. The first season under Gémez concluded with the team in 8th place, qualifying for the Europa League. However, they would not be able to enjoy European competition due to financial complications. For his second campaign in charge, Gémez had an almost entirely new squad. Joaquín Larribey, Iago Falqué and Saúl Ñíguez came in as replacements for several of the important players who had led them to success the previous year. The changes took their toll on Rayo at the start of the season, and despite a win on match day 1, the start to the 2013-14 season made for tough times. The team spent much of the season entrenched in the relegation zone. everything would change from February onwards. A win against Valencia was the turning point.
Good work by Saul. Ball into the box! There's the goal from Liga!
Beating Los Che at home served as a turning point for Paco Gémez's men. From then on, Rayo Vallecano began an extraordinary unbeaten run that was only halted by a defeat at the Santiago Bernabeu. 9 match days in which they rose from second from bottom to 9th place. Without the possibility of qualifying for Europe, Rayo relaxed on the final match days and placed 12th at the end of the season. It was a great achievement for a small club. And was helped largely by the goals from new arrival Larrivé and Alberto Bueno, 12 and 11 strikes respectively. Season 3 of the Paco Gémez project began in a similar fashion to the second campaign. Rayo again had to rebuild after an exodus of talent, with Liga, Gael Kakuta and the return of Leo Baptistao coming in as replacements. The first game of 2014-2015 ended in a draw against Atletico Madrid.
You tell them straight what you're gonna do. You got the whole world standing next to you.
Despite that point in the season opener, the first win would have to wait. It would not to be until match day 5, when Athletic Club visited Vallecas, that they would claim their first 3 points.
And your chains are made of stone, but the mountain is no longer higher. So together we will grow.
Once again, Rayo Vallecano were able to overcome wholesale changes to the squad and were never in the relegation zone. One of those players who remained was their top performer, striker Alberto Bueno. He racked up 17 goals in 2014-2015, with his standout moment being the game against Levante on match day 25.
But the mountain is no longer higher. No longer higher. So together we will grow.
The Real Madrid Academy product bagged 4 goals in the space of just 15 minutes, taking his side to victory at home.
You got it. You raised from the ground. You can see it. You started something. Really got them running. It's the lineup, buddy. It's the major league.
Could it be? Yes, it is. It's 4, and all of them have been scored by Alberto Bueno.
Can see it. You started something. Really got them running. It's the lump. Can see it. You started something. Really got them running. It's the lineup, buddy. It's the major league now.
Alberto Bueno's show against Levante was a prelude to a great run of form for Rayo. After the always difficult trip to the Camp Nou, Paco Gémez's side took 3 consecutive victories that took them up to 9th place. Once in their best position of the season, they would remain in mid-table, ending the campaign in 11th. However, Paco Gémez's fourth and final season at the dugout was more difficult for Rayo, even with the breakthrough of Jozabed and the goals of Javi Guerra. The start of the campaign saw a draw against Valencia and wins against Unión Deportiva Las Palmas and Sporting Gijón, but it was not to last. The solidity of the side was gone. The consistency of the past was lacking and mixed good results with heavy defeats. The biggest of which being a 10-2 loss to Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu.
Benzema makes it 10. It's the hat-trick.
Despite their woes, Rayo Vallecano fought for several match days to avoid the relegation zone. After their win on match day 33 against Villarreal, Paco Gémez's side seemed to be in a fairly comfortable position. However, Rayo Vallecano would fall apart in the final stages of the season, and they dropped into the relegation zone. On the final match day, a win against Levante was not enough to avoid relegation to the second division. That game at home would be Paco Gémez last in charge of Rayo Vallecano. A bittersweet end to his otherwise successful tenure. His 4 years there will always be remembered for his attacking football and his philosophy of entertaining the fans week after week.
Many times, the greatness of football is in its unpredictability. Over the years, there have been surprises galore that almost nobody had expected. One such example is the game between Sevilla and Sporting Gijón in 2008-2009. That matchday 2 encounter at the Sánchez-Pizjuán was an incredible game in which there were 6 goals scored in the opening 45 minutes. The madness began in the 17th minute when Sporting striker Mate Bilic opened the scoring. Two minutes later, Bilic struck again, putting his side 2-0 up before the 20-minute mark. Manuel Jimenez Sevilla had to turn the situation around without their top goal scorer Luis Fabiano, who started the game on the bench. Sevilla didn't take long to get back into the contest. Ernesto Chebanton made it 2-1 with a header. Despite their slow start, the home side found their stride and drew level through Frederic Canute's goal. Sporting were on the ropes. Just a minute later, Maresca took on a loose ball to score a fine goal, putting Sevilla ahead for the first time. Just as the smiles broke out at the Sánchez-Pizjuán, Maldonado set up Carmelo, who earned a penalty in the final minute of the first half. Bilic stepped up to convert the spot kick and put Sporting back on terms before the break. In the second half, Manolo Jimenez shored up the defence with the introduction of Fernando Navarro and Endri Romaric, who set up the winning goal. Canute scored the 7th and final goal in the 59th minute, giving Sevilla the win. Sevilla had managed an incredible turnaround after suffering early difficulties. This was one of the best games of the 2008-09 season, in particular after an astonishing hour of football.